Hey guys, welcome to the 5-Yard Pass. I'm Shyam and this is Suddy. We are doing our EPL season previews. Next up is, unfortunately, Liverpool. Suddy, I left this one to you, mate.
Yeah, okay. No, we say unfortunately, but I think Liverpool is one of the success stories of last season, without a doubt. Well, I'll crack onto it, man. So they came third last year. They had an immense form in that last kind of 10 games. They needed to win They needed to win 6 out of their last 7. I think they did. I think they drew 1 of their last 7, but they went crazy in their last 5. That rush for the Champions League spot, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea was. In fact, that was the story towards the end of the season after Man City kind of won it. They did immensely. You know, they started off well the season, and then they had this huge form, this dip of form. 6 games they lost at home in January and February. And don't get me wrong, at the time we were celebrating because I think United was on top of the league as well as Liverpool, on the way kind of crashing downwards. And it was fun for a couple of weeks, and then it just became kind of sad. So then I went and looked into it, and when you look into the whole season, I think the season as a whole, the season just gone, I mean, was a very successful one for Liverpool, given the fact Van Dijk, Matip, Gomez, Henderson, Ox, Thiago, Naby Keita, just to name a few, man, all out. You know, Trent was out for a while. I think Robbo's the only player, a massive player as well, who's the only one who managed to play the whole season. So despite the ravage of injuries, Jurgen Klopp managed to get a few signings, just enough to push him over the line. And honestly, if you told me in February they were going to come third, I think any Liverpool fan would have taken it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like Arsenal won their last 5 games, but it
they
feels
did
a
as
bit
well.
temporary. Whereas Liverpool I think it was 8 of their last 10, and it feels like something substantial can be built on that. Alisson's goal as well. It was one of the moments of the season, wasn't it? Alisson scoring that winner.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Away to West Bromwich, I think it was.
Yes, it was. Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah. So there's definitely something there for them to build off. They did score a fair bit of goals as well. But they did struggle quite a bit at home. They lost. I had I think a record of 6 consecutive home losses, which is a record in history. Yeah.
Well, we're looking at the more statistical side of it, I guess. 69 versus 99 points. Hey, 69. The season before, 68. They were third best in the league, but they scored 85 in the season before. But I mean, they only conceded 42, man, which was 9 more than they did the season before with what I would arguably say is the best defender in the world, next to Varane, but that's a different story. So the question is, Liverpool fans were kind of crying. And just, by the way, Salah's second best scorer in the league. He's got 18 out of the 73, so about 30% of the team's goals, just under 33%. Sorry. So the question remains: was the defense bad, or was the strikers not scoring enough valuable goals? And I think the latter might be the argument. Not in Salah, but was Mane scoring enough? Jota had a bit of period out as well, and Firmino as well. Firmino for sure, not scoring enough goals.
I felt a bit that if you look at Liverpool's numbers, right? So Salah had 18, Mane had 11, and Jota and Firmino had 9. The next player after that was Wijnaldum with 2. So I felt that Liverpool, their strikers were scoring, but the midfield, like with the movement of Fabinho into defense, I think Liverpool's midfield lost a bit, and particularly
they definitely did. Yeah.
Season, but there was that whole question mark around him. He's come out and said he didn't feel loved. I'm not sure exactly what that means because he played every game if you include bench appearances. So
let's get this straight though. Liverpool fans are some of the best in the world. You would hardly ever not feel loved. I don't even think they booed Karius after that Champions League fiasco. They've never outwardly come and said anything about came out and said you hear little things on social media, but Liverpool fans have never backed the player.
To clarify my comment, I think he was referring more to Liverpool fans on social media as opposed to Liverpool fans in Anfield. Because you're right, the Anfield atmosphere is one of the best atmospheres in world football. And the fans there, like you said, if they can support Karius, they'll support anybody. Yeah. But I think that midfield didn't really kick on. I think the injuries in defense caused those, Henderson and Fabinho to play a bit more defensive.
Yeah. I was just about to get to that.
They were a bit over reliant on the fullbacks getting up, and they lost that shape in midfield a bit. So I think that's the key for Liverpool for me, getting that midfield right.
The absence of Henderson, firstly from the team, and then from the midfield because he had to play defense for a good number of games, and he did quite well actually. It just when you have someone in the middle of the park as immense as Henderson, you do lose everything going forward. Maybe not as much coming back, and it just never worked for Liverpool going forward. But I have to say, man, I don't think there's much to blame in Liverpool's, let's say, back 6 or 7 players. I think there's a lot to be questioned with Mane Firmino, sorry, because Jota did quite a good job whenever he was around. Salah, man, is the best left-footed player in England.
Yeah,
So
Jota had I'm just pulling up the number here. Jota had, I think it was 9 goals in 1100 minutes. So it was Jesse Lingard type numbers, and we were
yeah,
talking before about how well he did at West Ham. So Jota
absolutely,
really,
yeah,
really good with
yeah,
Liverpool.
yeah. And then, so I mean, if we talk about transfers now, Liverpool as well, they're not as active as they'd like to be in the market, but they did go and sort of that centre back problem. I think Matip might be taking a bit of a knee. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be saying that. Sorry, to be taking a bit of a. Sorry, it's an old phrase. Obviously, we know that's you go on the bench. So I think Matip might be kind of sidelined. They might be thinking about Gomez being split sideline as well because they brought Konate in, which is a good idea. I think because and it's a good idea because you don't know about Van Dijk, you don't know about Gomez, what their fitness levels are like. So it's a good, you could say, like good world class option to have, almost world class option. He's very tall, he's very fast, very good player for Red Bull. And I think
I
as
think
well, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I think Gomez, he has the ability to play across the back four with his pace.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems I have with Liverpool is he had Robertson played every game, and
Mm-hmm.
that Greek fella they brought in as the backup, I forgot his name. He played 6 league
Mm-hmm.
minutes last season, and even Trent played 30
Yeah,
times in the
he got
league.
injured. He got injured as well, man.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that I think they're over reliant on the fullbacks, and they need to find
Yeah.
ways to get to not necessarily just to have them play less. Liverpool's top six players play 34 or more games, whereas if you look at Chelsea, no one played more than 27 in terms of outfield
Mhm.
players. So there was a
Yeah.
massive reliance on the front three, on Trent and Robertson, who are all their attacking players. So I think the
Mm-hmm.
ability to just get those guys on the bench a bit that will be helped more with Gomez, maybe occasionally playing fullback positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because Gomez has played a lot of his kind of younger days in the right back position. You see that with Lindelof being able to pass the ball very well because he played a lot in that holding position when he played for Benfica. So it is an option. But I do think something you said many times before. I think there has to be a point. You go Trent 23, 24. You got to put him where he's born to play, and I think he's born to play in that number 6, maybe number 8 role. And I think you'll see a different dimension to Liverpool.
When he
And I
goes
think if you
forward,
play,
he reminds me of De Bruyne. Like
yeah,
I think he could be that good, but they need to give
yeah.
him that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're in a position that makes the team the best in the world, it's hard to swap around. PK was never going to get a trial at United because the two best defenders in the world at the time.
Yeah,
There and unfortunately he's the best right back in the Premier League. So he's not supposed to play anywhere else. And I just want to add to that as well. I think Thiago Alcantara could be. We said this 12 months ago. I said it. Liverpool getting Thiago means they win the league. Didn't really work out that way, but I think Thiago could be a new signing in many ways. He give a bit of infusion that he didn't give before. He didn't play much in the Euros as well, so he could be that kind of feeling of a new signing.
I've got
Um,
questions over their midfield because their midfield players are all good. Fabinho's had a quality season last season,
yeah,
but Henderson's a good player. Alcantara's a good player. Oxlade-Chamberlain's a good player. Jones is a
yeah,
good player, but he's a little young. They're all a little injury prone. And I
yeah,
think the way that they can, because the Man City team is built in the same formation with those free eights, and Liverpool
yeah,
don't exactly play free eights, but they play a similar structure. Liverpool getting that midfield right is going to be a big determinant in how they go this season. I think
hmm,
if they need to get someone else, I think they do need to go and get a midfielder or
yeah,
a player that allows Trent to occasionally play in midfield and just
yeah,
have flexibility in the squad. Because I think that
yeah,
that's where they struggle. The rest of the team looks really strong, but just
yeah.
the two positions ahead of Fabinho, I've just got question marks over because not because of the quality of the players, but because of the injury proneness of those players.
Then comes my next point, where it's a bit of a twofold problem, right? Liverpool have a very good core of players that made them the best team in the world. A year, not even 2 years ago, well, when they won the league. So that was last year. Allison, Trent, Robbo, Van Dijk, Hendo, Salah, Mane. Let's talk about those players. I can put Jota in there now, but talk about the team that made them the best in the world. When Klopp came to Dortmund, when he came to Liverpool, all he had to do was clear out and buy. He didn't have to rebuild. It'd be interesting to see how he's going to rebuild with the old guard in place, because typically when you rebuild, you remove. He doesn't have to remove anyone. It's just the kind of top up players. Can he top up players, get them motivated again, and go? Because I think they can go and win a league in a year or two. Maybe not next year. I think that's a bit of an ask. Possible, bit of an ask. I think in a year's time they can go win. They can win the next season. So I think that's key. And I think Klopp is a major is maybe the most important player for Liverpool right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that he manages, he's got tactical ideas, but it's his man management that really stands out.
Absolutely.
And they've bought a lot of players on big wages that have become those core players, and they've tended to supplement them a bit this season. Kanate is probably an exception to that. He's kind of a core player that they could build a team around for 10 years. They probably need, I think, one or two more, or one of those other players to stand up like Gomez and Arnold. When no one really thought that those guys, with Alexander Arnold, that they would become the players that they are. So if there's someone in the squad, Curtis Jones or Oxlade-Chamberlain finds his legs, or someone can really step up to a higher level, then that's going to improve the team as well.
I mean, it's on my last point though. I want to say is it's hard to buy good players when you have a good team in the Premier League. It's very hard. United struggled to do it for years. You know, you look at Liverpool's last 10 or so buys, the Minaminos, that the Greek left back, the Schalke, what's his name, Kabach. The only player I would say, if I haven't said already, Minamino, the only player besides Konate that I said performed since they became the best team in the world would be Jota. It's hard to buy good players, man, because good players are going there knowing I have to fight for my place. I'm not guaranteed. You know, among many other kind of thoughts, you have to fit into a system that's worked so well over 100 or so games. It's tough. And Klopp's got to find a way to do it because he's not done it before.
You know, the team's not going to bend to your will. Whereas like a Neymar wouldn't go there, even though he's a really good player. He would never go to Liverpool.
There's no reason for him to go there.
Of the system.
Yeah, absolutely. But like overall, they have a mixed start. Norwich, Burnley, Chelsea at home, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Brentford away. It's a mixed start. I expect them to get 4 to 5 wins out of that. With a bit of luck, they could beat Chelsea. You know, I mean, with the Chelsea game, you can go either way. But it's a mixed start, and you expect them to get almost maximum points, I think. But like I said, it's about these younger players not being not getting the injuries. It's about people like Trent and Robbo taking over leadership role, and hopefully Van Dijk comes back from the injury with that ligament kind of nicely fixed and ready to go.
Leeds away is going to be an absolute cracker. I'm ready. Just of all the fixtures I've seen from the teams we've looked at, that's one game that really stands out to me.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that's my Liverpool take, and I do predict them. I do predict them to come third this year. I think that's where I do.
Who do you think will finish fourth?
I think Chelsea will finish fourth, actually. Okay. Yeah,
I have them the other way around. I think that Liverpool need to go and buy. It'll be funny because both teams probably haven't scored as much as they should have. I think Chelsea will need to buy. Yeah. I think Liverpool just need to be a bit luckier, and maybe having a bit of the cop back, I think, will help them more than any other team. I think having home crowd is going to make a difference to them. So there's an instant lift. I don't like saying it. And on that note, I think we've talked enough about Liverpool. I'm going to go have a good long shower.
All right, Shyam. Lovely.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is the 5-Yard Pass. We're Suddy and Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.